President Trump, not minutes ago, left the White House and paused to do a White House lawn gaggle. The inflation number today was 2.7%, very low inflation, going up a little bit from month over month, but it's tame. So Donald Trump got a question about that. Cut number 3.
Very slight. Essentially, they were exactly as anticipated. Very low inflation. So what you should do is lower the rate. The Fed should lower the rate immediately.
All right. He's not going to stop jawboning, and I happen to agree with him that we are going to risk deflation here if we do not get going on making monetary policy a little bit more coherent. Donald Trump also asked about the SCOTUS win, the Supreme Court win on the Department of Education layoffs yesterday, cut number 4.
We had a big win with the Supreme Court on the Department of Education. We want, as you know, we want to bring education back to the states, take the federal government out of it. A little tiny bit of supervision, but very little, almost nothing, like to make sure they speak English. That's about all we need.
Then we got 4 questions about Russia in a row. Cut number 5.
You've given Russia 50 days. What happens now? Do you talk to Vladimir Putin?
Well, at the end of 50 days, if we don't have a deal, it's going to be too bad.
But what happens?
Should Zelensky get more aggressive?
The tariffs are going to go on and other sanctions go on.
In 50 days, cut number 6.
Are you on Ukraine's side now?
No, I'm on nobody's side. I'm the no.
Why?
I want to, you know what the side I'm on? Humanity's side. I want to stop the killing of thousands of people a week. I want to stop the killing. I want the killing to stop in the Ukraine-Russia war. That's the side I'm on.
But he does add this about Putin, cut number 7.
Well, we're going to see what happens with President Putin. So far, I've been very disappointed with President Putin. I've solved a lot of wars in the last 3 months, but I haven't gotten this one yet. This is a Biden war. It's not a Trump war. I'm here to try and get us out of that mess.
And then the president went off on the new trade deal announced today with Indonesia, a tariff, I believe, of 17 or 18% going on, cut number 8.
So we made a deal with Indonesia. I spoke to their really great president, very popular, very strong, smart. And we made the deal. We have full access to Indonesia, everything. As you know, Indonesia is very strong on copper. But we have full access to everything. We will pay no tariffs. So they are giving us access into Indonesia, which we never had. That's probably the biggest part of the deal. And the other part is they are going to pay 19%, and we are going to pay nothing. I think it's a good deal for both parties. But we will have full access into Indonesia. And we have a couple of those deals that are going to be announced. India basically is working along that same line. We're going to have access into India. And you have to understand, we had no access into any of these countries. Our people couldn't go in. And now we're getting access because of what we're doing with the tariffs. So they're paying 19%, and we are not paying anything. And they're going to give us full access into Indonesia. Now, Indonesia has some great product, and they also have some very valuable earths and various other materials. One of the things, as you know, they're known for is very high-quality copper, which we'll be using.
And then let's go over to Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary on Bloomberg this morning, talking about the tariffs, cut number 12.
But I wouldn't put too much emphasis on one number. I think it's the trend, and I think one thing that Wall Street, a lot of economists, market in general got wrong early on was that tariffs were going to cause a substantial price level rise, which just hasn't happened.
It has not happened. Then we have Speaker Mike Johnson also giving a press conference this afternoon. Cut number 13.
Think about everything we've accomplished just the last few weeks. Gas prices hit a 4-year low. The last 4 jobs reports exceeded expectations. The stock market is reaching record highs. We have the lowest monthly border encounters in the history of the United States. Our NATO partners committed to spending 5%, not 2% of their GDP on national defense. We brokered multiple peace agreements and struck many more trade deals, more to come. Significantly damaged Iran's nuclear program, and on July 4th, we did sign the One Big Beautiful Bill. The President signed it into law. It's the most consequential, transformational legislation ever considered in our lifetimes, And we got it done because the Republican Party delivered on the promises we made to the American people. And the president did as well. That list that I just mentioned barely scratches the surface. President Trump has promised the most, and has delivered now, the most successful first 6 months of any president in the modern era, and many argue probably in the history of this great nation. And he's shown no signs of stopping. We won't.
I hope they don't. I hope they go right on to another reconciliation. I will ask that of Noah Rothman, Brett Baer, and others coming up. Mike Johnson also managed to take a swing at NPR, and I want to play it because I'm with him on this, cut number 14.
The NPR and PBS components this is, in our view, the misuse of taxpayer dollars. They're biased reporting. They're not objective. They pretend to be so. They have for a long time. And the people don't need to fund that. I mean, we're in an age of, you all know, you work in the industry. I mean, media is so multifaceted now. There's so many avenues and areas for information. And while at its origination, NPR and PBS might have made some sense, and maybe it does now, but it shouldn't be subsidized by taxpayers. So these are simple questions to answer for us. The House has acted appropriately, and I hope the Senate will do the same. I've urged them, as I always do, to please keep the product unamended because we have a narrow margin and we got to pass it. But we're going to process whatever they send us whenever they send us, and I'm hopeful that it'll be soon.
What's this say?
I am hopeful that it's tomorrow because I got to get it done by Friday. Cut number 11, Senator Cotton on Fox News talking about Donald Trump and weapons for Ukraine.
Well, Bill, first, I strongly commend President Trump for his decision yesterday to enable Ukraine to continue to defend itself. Some of that will be with Patriot missiles designed to stop incoming Russian missiles and drones, but every weapon that Ukraine has really is a defensive weapon because this is a defensive war of survival for Ukraine that was attacked in a war of unprovoked aggression by Russia. President Trump clearly wants to bring this war to a close. He wants a peace agreement. Russia didn't invade when he was president. It invaded when President Obama was president, when President Biden was president. But Putin has not been serious about negotiating. So President Trump, in another example of peace through strength, is going to try to help Ukraine get some more battlefield momentum and hopefully bring Vladimir Putin in the negotiation.
Now, we also had President Trump doing a phone interview this morning with BBC, cut number 1.
The deal we made last week is amazing. The 5%.
Yes.
Nobody thought that was possible. And it amounts to over $1 trillion a year.
On that deal, you once said that NATO was obsolete.
I think NATO is now becoming the opposite of that. I do think it was passed, and it was very unfair because the United States paid for almost 100% of it.
He's right, and it has been fixed, and I'm glad to hear him saying the right thing about that. Cut number 2, more BBC with Donald Trump.
You've said you were 4 times close to a deal with Putin.
Yeah, I thought I had a deal 4 times.
Are you done with him? I mean, I know that sounds a simplistic thing.
But I'm disappointed in him. But I'm not done with him. But I'm disappointed in him. So we had a deal done 4 times, and then you go home and you see he just attacked a nursing home or something in Kiev. I said, what the hell was that all about?
Do you trust him?
I trust almost nobody.
It's a very good approach if you're going to be president of the United States. Trust but verify is Reagan's formulation. I trust almost nobody is Donald Trump's formulation. They're really not any different at all. Couple more cuts because Donald Trump is Donald Trump, and he got into politics on the White House lawn. First, he talked about AOC and Jasmine Crockett, the 2 rising stars of the left. Cut number 9.
You know, AOC, look, I think she's very nice, but she's very low IQ, and we really don't need low IQ. Between her and Crockett, we're going to give them both an IQ test to see who comes out best. Now, I took my test. I took a real test at Walter Reed Medical Center, and I aced it. I got every one of all those questions right. Now
all right,
it's
so
time
you get
for
it.
them to take
He took a
test.
shot here. Time for
Anyway.
me to take my relief factor, which I do every hour of every show in the first hour and remind you in hours 2 and 3. There it is. Icarian and curcumin, resveratrol, and omega. There it goes. And the reason I take it, the reason I love relief factor, is that I'm able to get 3 miles in today. I was a little bit short on time. I had to do a book interview with Dan Silva. Danny Silva will be on in the 3rd hour today. I had to do a couple of other things this morning, so I only got 3 miles in, but Relief Factor made it easy. It will make it easier for you. Whatever, you got to get some motion in every morning. You got to get some exercise done. Gym rat, whether you're a runner, a trundler, or a walker, whether you're out there rowing on the Potomac, whatever you're doing, Relief Factor will make it easier. Call 1-800, the number 4, and the word relief, 1-800-4-RELIEF, or head over to their website, find their starter pack for $19.95 at relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. And come right back. Noah Rothman is next. We'll go over inflation and the president's comments in a news-filled day. Mike Johnson, the speaker, made an extraordinary claim today, which I believe is true. I might limit it a little bit upon inspection. I'd like to know what you think about it. My phone number is 1-800-520-1234, 1-800-520-1234. Cut number 13, Speaker Johnson earlier today at a House press conference.
Think about everything we've accomplished just the last few weeks. Gas prices hit a 4-year low. The last 4 jobs reports exceeded expectations. The stock market is reaching record highs. We have the lowest monthly border encounters in the history of the United States. Our NATO partners committed to spending 5%, not 2% of their GDP on national defense. We brokered multiple peace agreements and struck many more trade deals, more to come, significantly damaged Iran's nuclear program, and on July 4th, we did sign the One Big Beautiful Bill. The President signed it into law. It's the most consequential, transformational legislation ever considered in our lifetimes, and we got it done because the Republican Party delivered on the promises we made to the American people. The President did as well. That list that I just mentioned barely scratches the surface. President Trump has promised the most, and has delivered now, the most successful first 6 months of any president in the modern era, and many argue probably in the history of this great nation. And he's shown no signs of stopping.
I want to stop right there. 1-800-520-1234. I went back as far as Carter, and the statement is certainly true. I did my adult life. I got to vote in 1976, so I said, let's look at every 6 months of every presidential term beginning with 1976. And Donald Trump's first 6 months of his second term are far and away more significant and more positive than the first 6 months of Carter, of either of Reagan's terms, of H.W.'s term, of Clinton has 2 terms of, nothing happens. More significant than W.'s first 6 months, either first or second, more significant than Obama's first months, either first or second term, and of course Biden's first. Now, Biden and Obama spent a lot of money, but to no end other than inflation, and Obamacare did upend the American healthcare system and did great damage, so it was significant. But here I'm grading on things that we would do again, and we would do everything over exactly as it's happened in these first 6 months. I think they've been extraordinary. Now, I might separate on 1964. LBJ in 1964, which is first term, it's his second run at being president because he took over after the assassination of President Kennedy, and he got some stuff started. But in the Civil Rights Act of 1964, that's not the first 6 months of his second term. That's the last 6 months of his, the last year of his first time in office. I don't know, it's not a term. He's president because he's taken over. And I don't know how to compare that because it's his first 6 months as being president, but it's not a term. So I don't know if it's sui generis. And the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is a magnificent accomplishment. It's the fulfillment of the Declaration of Independence. It's the fulfillment of the 14th Amendment. It's the most important piece of legislation of my lifetime. So, but he also got a lot of swings and misses that were just terrible, like the Great Society legislation, which was well-intentioned but stupid and didn't work out and created all sorts of perverse incentives that did great damage to the family in America. But I really do think, you go back to 1933 when FDR becomes president, and he got a lot done. A lot of it was unconstitutional and struck down. None of it ended the Depression. The only thing that ended the Depression was World War II, when everyone had to go to work to make tanks and airplanes and bombs and rifles. And mostly women went to work on our GDP soared with the weapons of war. We don't want to do that. We don't want to get out of this again. So I do think, at least in modern times, and that I believe starts with Teddy Roosevelt, modern times, the great white fleet that traverses the world. That's really modern time. I don't think you can actually argue with what the speaker said, But what do you think? Nancy in Montana, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to go along with House Speaker Mike Johnson. I believe him to be a very moral man, and I'm going to hang in there with my president. I voted for him. He's only been in office 6 months. You know, it took a long time for our country to get in the shape that it is, and it's going to take a long time to get it out of the condition that it's in. And I can see progress. I know a lot of people I've talked to don't really see it. They have their doubts about him. They still don't understand him adding to our debt ceiling, and that's one thing. And he mentioned amnesty, Mr. Hewitt, and they don't like that either. But I'm going to tell you, I think that President Trump is good at playing head games, psychological head games. When he mentions amnesty, he doesn't mean it for himself. He's trying to play head games with the progressive left to make him think that he might do this.
Oh, I think he's going to do regularization. I think he's going to get the Dreamers permission to stay and remove the cloud over their legitimate right to be in the United States, which does not exist because they came in illegally as children. But I think he's going to address that. And I hope he does comprehensive immigration reform and that we regularize the good folks who have entered illegally, but that they never get to become citizens, not amnesty. But Nancy, thank you. You reminded me I want to tell people about Texas. Now, over the past few days, I've been asking you to help out Food for the Poor, which is rushing relief to the devastated region of the Hill Country in Texas. Kevin Main is with Food for the Poor's Church Alliance Department. He's on the ground in Texas overseeing the aid that you are sending. Here's what he had to say.
There have been an incredible amount of homes that have been completely washed away. And many of these people, these families, have nothing left to go and retrieve. So baby care items, one of the requests I've seen for a lot of the people is just socks and underwear. You know, they have nothing. So that's a good reminder of that.
It is a good reminder of why Americans should step up to help other Americans. If you go to my website, hughhewitt.com, there is a banner at the top that says simply Help Texas. Every $50 you can donate is another box of relief supplies for those who have lost everything in Texas. A lot of people lost their lives, and we grieve for those families and for those adults and especially the children. Heartbreaking. But there are so many people washed out by that extraordinary natural disaster that if you've got it in you, if you got $20 or $50 or $500, whatever you can afford, you can call 855-359-4673, or you can go to the banner at the top of hughhewitt.com, which says Help Texas. Or if you're one of those people that like to text and get links, you can text my name, Hewitt, Hewitt, to 51555, 51555. Kirk in Loma Linda, California. What do you think, Kirk? Hello, Kirk. Hello, Kirk. I think something must be wrong with your phone, and he went away. So I won't do any more about that. I will simply tell you all that Americans for a Balanced Budget have got a website up, StopHealthCostHikes.com, StopHealthCostHikes.com, StopHealthCostHikes.com. Why have they got that up there? Because the exchanges that were established in the aftermath of Obamacare, and many people were forced into them who didn't want to go into them, and they're in them. They're wildly expensive because Obamacare was not as it promised. You didn't get to keep your doctor. You didn't keep your insurance. You got forced into these exchanges. Well, there are tax credits in the current law, and they are expiring. But in the second reconciliation, we need those tax credits restored and extended because Obamacare is such a mess. Please go and visit StopHealthCostHikes.com and join that effort. I hope the second reconciliation is as fast as the first. StopHealthCostHikes.com. A couple more calls to get to on the president's first 6 months. Rob in Pittsburgh. How are you, Rob?
Hello, Hugh. You know, I think it will be a big mistake to do regularization, either for the Dreamers or anyone else. That's called
okay, but that's not my question to the audience was, do you think President Trump's first 6 months in office are the best in modern times?
It is so far, but I think he still needs to get rid of those in his administration who are still working against him. He still has to weed out the ones that are trying to make this not so successful. He needs to find them and get rid of them. in a very public
I
way.
don't think there are that many people that are working against him. He's had such a run of success. I mean,
Yes, he has.
what do you think they're doing? They didn't keep the one big beautiful bill from ending up on his desk.
No, they didn't, but you still have a lot of people in the alphabet agencies who are working against him. And
Yeah,
even in his
Rob,
own
you're a Steelers fan, aren't you?
No, I'm not. You know what? I'm a Jets fan. Don't repeat that.
Oh, no, don't tell anyone that. A Jets fan
Oh,
in
please,
Pittsburgh?
no.
That's
I
horrible.
know.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the permanent government. They're firing the permanent government. So rest easy, Rob. Thank you for the call, though. Kirk in Loma Linda. How are you, Kirk?
Good. How are you? I enjoy your show.
Thank you.
I'm calling about, I wondered if you know if it's true or not that the Chinese are buying up land around our military bases.
It is, in fact, true that a few purchases have been made by shell groups that are believed to be under the control of companies that answer to the Chinese Communist Party. There are efforts underway to reverse those sales and to monitor future sales because it ain't going to happen under Donald Trump. Everyone's aware of the problem in the defense industry, and we're on the lookout, and I believe you will see condemnations where necessary, where land in proximate distance to our military base have been acquired by foreign actors of any sort, but especially the Chinese.
Thank you. That's a good answer.
I follow it. I follow it. People don't understand they are not our friends. They will never be our friends, and we have to treat them like that. Thank you so much. I want to tell you about a new study that came out from First American Financial Corporation. The housing cost burden hits hardest not just on first-timers who are trying to start out and buy their first house, but also on seniors aging in place. That's because older homeowners are running into the effects of higher taxes, higher insurance, higher everything, electricity costs, utilities, and they're stretched. That's why I want to pause to tell you about one of our sponsors, AndrewandTodd.com, 888-888-1172. AndrewandTodd.com do all sorts of mortgages. They're a bank. They're with Sierra Pacific Mortgage. They are lenders. So they underwrite the loan. One specific kind of loan is for seniors. This new study is about how seniors are going. I understand why young people are having trouble getting into their first house because interest rates are high and supply is low. Seniors are having trouble staying in their house because costs are going up all around them. Even if they paid off their house, they're living on a fixed income, and insurance has gone up dramatically. Utilities, especially electricity, has gone up dramatically. There are and homeowners associations, goodness knows what they're doing if they've got to replenish their reserves after the fiascos that we've had in various places like Florida, the collapse of the condo, then they're getting hit with that. Here's how AndrewandTodd.com can help senior citizens. They do reverse mortgages. Now, to be eligible for a reverse mortgage, you got to be 62 years and older and living in your residence, and you got to go through a lot of counseling so you do not ill-advisedly use your biggest asset, which is your home. That's what Andrew and Del Rey and Todd Avakian are so good at. They'll spend as much time on the phone with you as necessary to make sure you understand what a reverse mortgage is. You take equity out of your house. You never make another mortgage payment. All right, there's an interest rate attached to it, and that interest rate will accumulate debt against the house, but you get your money out, and hopefully your money makes more money than you're paying in an interest rate. It's a little bit complicated, but it will help the senior who is stretched by these costs in this study by First American Financial Corporation. So if you are interested in a reverse mortgage because you're 62 and you're living in your own home and it's paid off or it's almost paid off or you got a lot of equity in it, your house rich and you're cash strapped, call AndrewandTodd.com at 888-888-1172, 888-888-1172, and just say to them, I want to examine and explore a reverse mortgage. And they'll sit down and they'll walk you through it, and they'll walk you through it a second time and a third time. They do not want to upsell you. They are wonderful human beings. But if you're one of those seniors about whom this study is concerned, stretched by rising costs of taxes and insurance and utilities, give Andrew and Todd a call at 888-888-1172 or go to their website, AndrewandTodd.com. Sam Sorbo, you know her. She is an author, an actress, a filmmaker, and an education activist of long standing. She's also one of the founders of the Parents Demanding Justice Alliance, which is on the Hill today. Hello, Sam. Welcome back to the Hugh Hewitt Show. Good to see you again.
Thank you. It's great to be seen, and it's great to see you also.
Thank you. Tell us about Parents Demanding Justice Alliance. What is it? What are you doing on the Hill today?
Yeah, well, we had a great day on the Hill. We held a press conference for the Parents Demanding Justice Alliance. These are parents who were unduly targeted by the Merrick Garland DOJ and the FBI. Some of them were even surveilled. Many of them lost their jobs just for standing up and speaking at a school board meeting or a city council meeting, or just for raising some questions with school administrators. They were then targeted and considered, as you recall, the infamous memo that categorized them as domestic terrorists. And unfortunately, this is a bigger picture. I want to give you the bigger picture on this, is that all of these parents, we represent over 40 parents who were unduly targeted, who have suffered at the hands of their own governments, but they were used as examples for the rest of the parents. And so we actually represent a number of parents who failed to speak out because they were intimidated. This was an intimidation tactic that the government, both local and federal, used against its own citizens. This cannot stand. And the reason it cannot stand is because currently we are 40th in the world ranking for education, 40th out of 40. We can't get any worse. Well, we can, but it won't show up on the statistics. But the reason that we are so poor is because parents have been ostracized from their children's education. We had Terry McAuliffe say parents have no standing in the conversation on education for their kids. We know this is wrong, but I want people to understand parental involvement is the #1 predictor of academic success. And so any school, any administrator, any law enforcement that tries to get in the way of a parent becoming involved in their child's education is actually seeking the destruction of that very same child.
So where is Parents Demanding Justice Alliance headquartered? Or what's the website and what's the agenda for Parents Demanding Justice Alliance?
Right. So people can go, if they are a parent who needs redress, they should go over to realfreedomtalk.com. And other people obviously can go there to see everything that we're doing right now. But our goal is to get an executive order from President Trump. I'm trying to lure him into becoming parent in chief. Well, he kind of is parent in chief anyway already. And honoring these parents who stood in the breach, who stood in the gap, who stood up for their own kids, and honor them to try to turn the tides on this, because this hasn't stopped. Just because we aren't having contentious school board meetings as much anymore because COVID is sort of gone by the wayside, we still have issues with our schools. And so parents are afraid to speak up because this aura still pervades in our schools, this negativity towards parents being involved. And we have to make that right. We need parents involved in school boards.
Sam, where I live, I'm not far from Loudoun County, and Loudoun County was an epicenter of repression of parental rights. Governor Youngkin rolled in and sort of shut that down, but places like California are not parent-friendly at all. So where do most of your aggrieved parents come from? Are they from blue states, red states, or all over?
They're actually across the board, and in fact, they encompass both Republicans and Democrats and independents. So it is not limited. Look, you can disagree with your school board, and it's going to go very poorly for you, and it should not. You should actually have the ability to disagree with your school board. In fact, I have an initiative to put parents on all the school boards exclusively. I don't see why someone else is serving on a school board. It should be made up entirely of parents of children in that school.
So, Sam, what do you want for the parents who were, in fact, targeted, not just in Loudoun County, but across the United States? What are you looking for?
Yeah, sure. Well, we're looking for restitution. Some of these parents have had their lives ruined. We represent one person who is a lawyer, and they went after his law firm. The school board went after his law firm. And then when he changed law firms, they went again and said, you have to lose this guy. You need to fire him, or we will pull all of our contracts. Luckily, that didn't transpire, but he took a huge cut in pay because he had to leave his previous employ. The man I'm partnered with, Kelly Walker, is probably patient zero here. He lost his business. He was arrested. He still has an arrest on his record, even though it came to nothing and they needed to take it off. It should be expunged by now, but they are being so vindictive. They are not taking it off his record. It makes it difficult for him to find a new place to live, find a new job. He is a 55-year-old man with 5 children to support, and they are still treating him this way. They fined him $10,000, illegally confiscated it from his bank account, and then sentenced him to 100 days in jail. And the 2 other gentlemen who were in the meeting with him, who in theory should be treated exactly the same, got $250 fines and no jail time because they wanted to make an example of my partner, Kelly Walker. So people, we need to understand we cannot permit our government. Look, we fought an entire Revolutionary War over a 1-cent tax on paper, on stamps. And here we are today cowering in shame because our government is telling us to sit down and shut up. And the reason for that is because we all went to school where we learned to sit down and shut up when your government speaks to you. And it's time we turn that around.
What is Kelly alleged to have done, Sam?
He has a class 3 misdemeanor, I think it is, for going to a meeting. It does not rise to the level of felony. It's basically a parking ticket, and they stick the FBI on him for that.
Well, I'm just curious. There is a thing called a 1983 action, which can be brought against any government actor using color of state law to impose upon constitutional rights. Are you pushing any of your friends and clients to take up the 1983 cudgel and go after the school boards that sick the FBI on them?
I wish I was a lawyer. Kelly's sitting right here listening, and I don't know if he knows about that, but I will ask him. But we will seek redress. We absolutely will. We're considering a class action lawsuit because this does involve the federal government. And even though Merrick Garland denied it, we now have proof through Jim Jordan and his efforts that, in fact, this actually occurred. It was undue, it was unconstitutional, and we need to fix it. But more importantly, we need to fix it for the kids, because parents need to be involved in their children's education in order to accomplish education.
Parents Demanding Justice Alliance. What is the website one more time, Sam Sorbo?
realfreedomtalk.com, and people can also go to samsorbo.com.
samsorbo.com, realfreedomtalk.com. Thank you, Sam. The inflation rate is 2.7%. That was announced this morning. I'll give you the market close next hour. Markets are doing okay. NASDAQ's up. The other ones are down. It's a mixed market. I do know, though, that even 2.7% means some of you are pretty pressed. So do not waste money. Make the switch to consumer cellular. All right, go to consumercellular.com/Hugh. Consumercellular.com. It's right there on the screen. You can see it right there. Consumercellular.com/Hugh. If you're watching on the Salem News Channel, if you're not watching and you're listening in your car, I'm going to give you the phone number 3 times so you can remember it. 1-800-411-4454. 1-800-411-4454. 1-800-411-4454. You can have savings without sacrifice. You do not have to give up great service. You can have wonderful, the equal of any other cell service in the United States. You can have that and you can save money. Before you call Consumer Cellular, remember my code is Hugh25. That will entitle you to $5 off of each of your first 5 monthly invoices. Before you call Consumer Cellular, go online to consumercellular.com/Hugh. Get your cell phone bill out. And if you don't know where it is, then you're paying too much. All right, if you don't know what you're paying too much. It is that simple. But you can find it. You can, hit, if you've got AT&T, I think it's 611, I'm not sure. You can hit one of those numbers and say, what am I paying? And find out, because you're overpaying. I just wanted to, you're overpaying, especially if you have unlimited data, because unlimited data is very attractive to people who get older. They're afraid that they're going to get stuck with high costs for cellular. You don't need that much data. Some of you might need only 5 gigs a month. Some of you might need 10 gigs. Whatever it is, Consumer Cellular's counselors will walk you through it. If you want to keep your phone, number, you can keep your phone number. If you want to keep your device, you can keep your device. Keep all your contacts, all your data. It can all get moved over. It's very easy to do. But what's easier to do and enjoy is saving money on the same service that you got with the old cell phone, but you've got a better carrier. You've got consumer cellular. So please don't wait another day. Head over to consumercellular.com/Hugh or call 1-800-411-4454. That's 1-800-411-4454. I got 1 minute left, and there's one clip I haven't played yet of all the clips I dug up. Donald Trump on Adam Schiff, cut number 10.
I would love to see him brought to justice. I think, I'll tell you what, I think Adam Schiff is one of the lowest of the low. I would love to see him brought to justice. He's a dishonest, crooked guy. I don't know about the individual charge, if that even happens. But Adam Schiff is a serious lowlife.
Do you think the president likes Adam Schiff? I don't. Adam Schiff lied repeatedly about Russia. He lied to you. He lied to me. He lied to everybody. And now he's in the Senate because California works that way. California's broken. So Senator Schiff will be repairing unsuccessfully his reputation for a long time, but Donald Trump has his number. I begin the hour with Bret Baier, host of the Fox News special report every single night at 5 p.m. on the Fox News channel, 6 p.m., excuse me. Bret, how are you? And do you look forward to the British Open as much as you do to the Masters and the U.S. Open?
Hey, Hugh, I do. Any of the majors I love to see. The Open is really fun. It's obviously a different look. And, it could be anybody this week. But
I have never actually heard of Royal Portrush. Have you played it? Do you know of it?
I know it. I have not played it, and well received in the rotation.
I just got to say, it's going to be. I hope it's wild and windy weather. I always love British Open weather when it's British Open weather. That's the fun part. Now I have to talk to you about tariffs, debt deficits, and inflation. First, inflation. Do you think 2.7% inflation warrants the headlines it's getting? Because it seems to me to be a blip.
I mean, I've talked to a lot of experts who were not scared by that number. Obviously, it's different, but I've talked to a lot of people who say, this is tracking. Obviously, the tariffs are going to have some effect, but it's not like many people are looking at it that the sky is falling.
No, we had 9% inflation in 2022, 2.7% inflation. While I'd prefer 2%, that's the target. We don't want 0 and we don't want 5. But 2.7, it doesn't seem to me like the tariffs have really been that significant. Am I wrong?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, largely we haven't seen them stick, and this is the first indication that anything may be starting to bubble on the tariff front. But for all that was talked about the tariff, negative backlash at the beginning, we haven't seen that much of a movement. Now, can you argue that the Fed is right to be cautious on an interest rate drop? The president doesn't think so. And we'll see what we hear from the Fed chair and others.
I do see a lot of people struggling with rising taxes, rising insurance costs, rising utilities, and they're pressed. And so the interest rates dropping for buying a home or refinancing a home would be welcome. Now, I want to go across the water to France. I don't profess to be an expert on French politics, but they have a minority government in the parliament, and the leader of that minority government, a fellow named Bayrou, has he sat down with you yet, Brett? Every other world leader in America seems to show up at special report. Is it?
Yeah, no, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
So he came out today, and he wants to do something that I don't think is possible. He wants to take back 2 of France's national holidays. He wants to take back Easter Monday and Victory in Europe Day. They have 11 days off in France. We have 8 days off in the United States. What do you think? Is that too much of an ask of the French?
I don't know. I mean, they protest about everything, so I'm not sure they will enjoy their holidays being taken away. But, listen, the French politics are always fiery, and Macron is not in a strong spot, obviously. And so,
that is, in fact, that's an understatement. The Financial Times writes he's got a fragile centrist alliance. It's a minority government. and it can be pulled down at any time by Le Pen and the Socialist Union of Left and Right. So I think we're in for some nasty times. By contrast, have you met Mr. Merz yet, the new Chancellor of Germany, about whom Walter Russell Mead writes so glowingly this morning in the Wall Street Journal?
Yeah, I have talked to him, and he actually seems like he does have a good sense of where Germany is, and obviously is one of the countries that has decided defense spending is of a need and a want in the wake of what Russia's doing in Ukraine and the threats they face.
Now, Merz is a old school sort of Helmut Kohl kind of guy, very stolid, very quiet. I don't think he's going to make much of an impression on America, but I think he knows how to deal with President Trump. Do you share that opinion?
Yeah, I mean, handled him well in meetings on the sidelines of NATO, and from listening to the president and his people, they feel like they have a strong relationship, or at least much better communication than they ever did with Chancellor Merkel or anybody else.
Or Schultz or anyone that followed. Now I want to play for you Speaker Johnson, Brett. He said this today, and I want to get your reaction to it. Cut number 13, Speaker Mike Johnson at a House press conference.
Think about everything we've accomplished just the last few weeks. Gas prices hit a 4-year low. The last 4 jobs reports exceeded expectations. The stock market is reaching record highs. We have the lowest monthly border encounters in the history of the United States. Our NATO partners committed to spending 5%, not 2% of their GDP on national defense. We brokered multiple peace agreements and struck many more trade deals, more to come, significantly damaged Iran's nuclear program, and on July 4th, we did sign the One Big Beautiful Bill. The President signed it into law. It's the most consequential, transformational legislation ever considered in our lifetimes, and we got it done because the Republican Party delivered on the promises we made to the American people. The President did as well. That list that I just mentioned barely scratches the surface. President Trump has promised the most, and has delivered now, the most successful first 6 months of any president in the modern era, and many argue.
All right, pause right there. The most successful 6 months of any president in the modern era. What do you think, Brett Baer?
Well, definitely in numbers of things done and results of his primary objective, which was securing the border, which he ran on again and again and again. You can say that list is impressive. I don't think you have to, either from left or right, acknowledge that is impressive to get that done that quickly. Now,
yeah, you heard the same thing I did. The speaker didn't even mention the border. He didn't mention
right.
DEI, CRT. He didn't mention Harvard or Columbia. There's so much he didn't mention. So it's sort of by an admission that he's right by the fact he ran out of time.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it is a long list. There's some bumps in the road to come. Also today, Speaker Johnson is siding with releasing all that we know about Epstein. So it's an interesting time. But that list is unimpeachable.
Now, Brett, okay, you said the name that I never say, so now I got to follow up. I am profoundly uninterested in the creep Epstein, and I don't think he kept a list, and I think it's kind of a weird conspiracy theory. But what do you think will satisfy? They can't release the video of the victims being assaulted. They can't release the names of the victims. I'm not sure what people are waiting for. Does anyone think Epstein just kept a black book of people that he could blackmail?
I don't know. I really don't know, but I think it is really pressuring Republicans. And I'm just saying, from a political standpoint, it is a story and a focus that is becoming problematic to the point where the speaker is now siding with that release. I think, and listening to Alan Dershowitz and others who have dealt with these cases, that this is largely allegations that are blacked out from accusers. And to hear Alan Dershowitz talk about it, a lot of it has been out already. The people have been out there. But, I think we still have yet to know and how this affects the Attorney General and Justice Department, I think is a legitimate story that we got to cover.
It's sort of remarkable that after this amazing run of 6 months of actual achievement, I didn't even know, for example, that Ted Cruz inserted a $1,700 tax credit for certain states that have school choice so that people, I mean, everyone's going to do that. You get to write $1,700 off of your tax bill for, I think it would apply for Merritt High School and John F. Kennedy, my high school, because they're both in states with school choice programs. You can take $1,700 of your taxes and just give it to your high school or your college, maybe it's just K through 12, I'm not sure, to focus on Epstein. So I'm going to give you the last word. In terms of importance vis-a-vis the rest of the agenda, where does the Epstein scandal non-disclosure rank?
I think down. That said, because of the focus on it, and largely this is now getting taken up by Democrats and getting taken up by the media, so there will be outsized oxygen given to it as far as its importance in the things. By the way, the digesting of the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill, we're still really doing, to your point, of finding that tax credit. And states and organizations are still figuring out what exactly was in that thing. And
Ted Cruz mentioned that on Fox last night. I don't know if it was with you or with Sean. I'd never heard of it. Had you heard of it?
No, but there's a number of things in there that, never got touted beforehand. And I think that we're still digesting everything in there. But to your point, as far as importance of the things that affect the country, it is low. As far as oxygen given to it, it's increasingly moving.
High and increasing. Yep, high and increasing. Bret Baier, always good to talk to you. Enjoy the British Open this week, and we will be watching Special Report tonight at 6 on the Fox News channel. Fox News, by the way, inking the Ruthless Gents to a contract today. I hope everyone's got dump buttons over there for when they get spun up. That they don't live by the FCC's rules over at the Ruthless Podcast. Thank you, Bret Baier. Market is closed. Time for a market update brought to you by our friends at AmericanFederal.com. Nick Grovich and his team are the very best that there are in terms of buying and selling gold, diversifying your portfolio. You need to call them and say, okay, how much do I need to get? How do I get it? How does it make it happen? Deal with people when you buy gold who are absolutely transparent about commissions, who are absolutely transparent about the cost and when and how it transfers to you. Because in the gold space, there are a lot of people who exaggerate fears and don't disclose costs. That's not Nick and his team. They are so transparent. That's who I buy gold from. So I hope you buy gold from too. You can call Nick and his team. The number is right there on the phone, 1-800-221-7694. 1-800-221-7694. The market today was mixed. The Dow was down 1%, actually 0.98%. The S&P was off 0.4%, and the NASDAQ was up by 0.18%. So it's a mixed market, not sure what to make of it. Gold was off $22 an ounce and is now at $3,337.10 an ounce. Some of you have kind of pulled back from the gold market thinking, oh, it's going to fall. I don't think it's ever going to. I think it reset. I think it reset at around 3,000. I would not be surprised if it goes significantly higher than this. Nick predicted it. Nick told me about it. Nick was right. You ought to talk to Nick about when you want to buy gold or how you want to buy gold. I do it once a year, and I think everyone ought to do it once on a calendar, not on an impulse. It's not an impulse buy. It ought to be part of your wealth accumulation, diversification of your wealth into dirt and gold and stocks and bonds and cash. Some people do diamonds. I think that's silly because they're not really easily converted and you don't know what you're doing. But there's lots of ways to diversify. AmericanFederal.com will walk you through them. Call them, 800-221-7694. 1-800-221-7694. Now, to Epstein. I don't spend a lot of time on Epstein because I think he was a horrible human person who killed himself. I think it was very plausible that he would kill himself. I think it's very likely that he wouldn't kill himself because he was never going to get out of jail. He was going to be in solitary confinement. If he wasn't in solitary confinement, he was going to get stabbed by the inmates because nobody likes pedophiles. And he's as awful as everybody says. However, I do believe the Department of Justice when they put out the memo. The memo, which came out last week, 2 pages, described an exhaustive review of material relating to the disgraced financier who died in August 2019, having killed himself while awaiting a trial on sex trafficking charges involving dozens of underage girls. The memo from the DOJ and the FBI concluded there was no, quote, client list and, quote, no credible evidence, close quote, that Epstein, quote, blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. It also stated he died by suicide. All right, that's good enough for me. I always thought he killed himself because of the abysmal nature of his life and what he was facing. I've never believed that there's a blackmail operation being run here. I do think a lot of awful people went to the island. A lot of awful people molested young women. A lot of awful people took advantage of the sinister services that Epstein made available to them, and among them, widely regarded Prince Andrew. Right, so he's been sort of defrocked because of that. Lots of rumors about other people, but I don't know. I do know why the government does not want to release a lot of this stuff. Government doesn't want to hurt victims a second time. Every time you say, well, X was intimate with an underage girl, you got to prove it by proving it. And when you prove it, you harm the victim a second time. It's why I think they've got to be extraordinarily careful in what they release. It's about taking care of the victims of these predators, not worrying about some out there conspiracy theory that somebody cooked up. I do not believe there's more to find here, but by all means, knock yourself out, demanding, taking your eye off the ball. The most important thing that needs to happen now is a second reconciliation, because we can do two more, and they only take 50 votes in the Senate, and I hope that they're working on one right now. Back to the phone. Jeff in Oklahoma City. What say you, Jeff?
Hey, how you doing?
Great. I got
like
Jim
your
Lankford
show.
on tomorrow, one of your senators. Looking forward to talking to him.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I want to say that I like what Trump is doing very much. I mean, I enlisted in the Air Force during Reagan, so I loved how we became strong militarily, and people respected us because of that. And that's what I like about Trump. He's not taking any crap from any of these countries. Us decimating Iran's nuclear program because Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. That is just not good.
They're not going to get one now. And I listened this morning to part two of an interview with Ron Dermer. Ron Dermer is Benjamin Netanyahu's Minister for Strategic Affairs. He sat down with our friend Dan Senor, friend of the program, on Call Me Back podcast, and outlined, hey, America, you've wanted to pivot to the Pacific. That means redeploy troops from the Middle East and Europe to the Pacific, where China is our pacing threat. Now you can do it because Iran is in tatters. They've lost their proxies. They've lost their nuclear program. They're exposed in the skies. They're naked to the world. They've been exposed as a paper tiger. And I thought to myself, he's right. We don't have to worry about the Middle East as much. Israel and the Sunni states that are our allies, they can take care of that region. Germany and a revitalized NATO can take care of Europe, help Ukraine, and we can turn our eyes on China. I'm very happy about that. Thank you, Jeff. Annie in Miami, how are you?
Oh, my goodness. Very honored. Thank you for taking these calls. This would never have happened during Obama's reign.
Oh, I talked to people during Obama's reign, but the 6 months we just had would never have happened.
Well, I had a bad experience at work, and in retrospect, with the support of the fathers and mothers in the school system, with the unions versus the point that was made about parents should be the ones on the school board. Anyway, I had a bad experience. It cost me my job. And I'm proud of it. They asked me back. I said no. But it should never have happened.
So Sam Sorbo struck a chord with you.
Well, yeah, I did. But it's okay. We move on. I have nothing but praise for this man. He was handpicked by the hand of God. And there's no question about it. You cannot question God and why he does things. And it's always for the better. He created us all. He knows what he's doing. I would never want to be in his shoes. So I trust that that bullet was not meant to hurt him. On the contrary, it was a proven visual, audio for the world to see.
And it's, boy, every book about the campaign, particularly Selena Zito's Butler, underscores what you just said. Thank you, Annie. I appreciate the call from Miami. Ty Lassiter in Key City Capital, longtime sponsors of the Hugh Hewitt Show. And I asked Ty to come in whenever we have news about the housing market, but I always make the same disclosures. I'm an investor in Key City Capital. They're a sponsor of the show. You have to be an accredited investor to invest, and they only want investments of more than 6 figures in the funds that they open. You cannot be in the fund that I joined years ago. It closed long ago. And before you invest with anyone about anything, read their prospectus carefully and talk to your financial and tax advisors. Hey, Ty, good to talk to you. I wanted to talk to you today because of the new study that came out from First American Financial Corporation, senior economist Sam Williamson. Overall housing costs reached a new peak in 2023 with 16.9 million homeowners spending more than 30% of their income. And the report reveals seniors especially are getting hammered because of rising utilities, insurance, and property taxes. Are you seeing seniors leaving houses that they own for apartments that you own and maintain?
Yeah, I think that's been going on for a little while, and it's expediting now with the pressures that they're getting from outside factors and from inflation and interest rates and everything else that go into it. But what we have seen is a quick movement to more of a renter's nation because of, one, the flexibility, two, the ease of maintenance. When you have an owner of a rental property like myself that is renting back to those tenants, we maintain all of the amenities and everything for them. And so it makes it much easier for somebody who's retired that travels around a lot. Maybe they want more than one location to live, but they don't want the headaches of responsibilities that go into the home ownership. Well, this gives them that flexibility. And then you couple that along with the pressures that they're getting from property insurance, from interest rates, from inflation across the board. It is moving more and more people into rentership faster.
So, Ty, in the funds that you run, in the apartments that you acquire or build, or both, have you been able to keep ahead of the rising costs of electricity and insurance? Because I would imagine those are two of your biggest cost drivers.
Electricity, yes, just because of our scale. So one of the things that is really beneficial from partnering with someone like ourselves is the scale and the volume that we come with. And so we're able to negotiate really good contracts on that side. Insurance, again, we are lower than most small owners, a group, maybe it's a mom and pop that own 24 rental properties. Yes, we get much better rates than they do, or even the individual that owns their home. However, insurance did go up for us prior to last year. So for 2024, we had a high year. We have now renegotiated and brought it back down about 22%. So that's been huge coming into 2025. And that's just really a testament to the volume that we have, as well as my brother and our CFO constantly working with our vendors like that service large contracts for us across the portfolio. So 2024 was a little tough for us. It did go up. That was because of the hurricanes and so much weather-related incidences. And now we've kind of gotten accustomed to that, and they're bringing them back down.
Where is investor interest? Because the market is pretty high, maybe even frothy. Gold is at $3,335 an ounce. I don't know that demand is as high as that. Are people turning to you to diversify?
Yeah, well, you bring up a good point with gold. So going back to the 1920s, the same amount weight-wise of gold has always been able to purchase the average home, and that is still the case today. And so gold kind of follows the real estate market. And like real estate, gold is a physical asset. And so it brings that tangibility factor to it. What we're seeing right now is our new fund has had our phones and Stephen, our chief client officer, working relentlessly because of the height of the financial market right now. I think, to your point, it's a little frothy, and we're seeing that across a number of our investors right now that are coming in. They're wanting to take some earnings off the table and diversify while they're still up, because there is that looming expectation still that we are going to have a market correction. And again, Trump is addressing, as you and I have talked about a number of times, mainstream America, and Wall Street America is not his primary focus. And so he may have a tweet or something here and there that negatively impacts Wall Street, but it positively impacts the real estate market. And that's what we're seeing right now. And Wall Street is still just kind of riding the high that interest rates are still high, and Jerome Powell hasn't brought those down yet. So I think as soon as Powell starts moving the interest rates and or we see a replacement of the Fed chair, then the financial market is going to adjust accordingly.
If you're interested in finding out more, getting the prospectus, go to keycitycapital.com/Hugh. Call Ty or anyone over at Key City Capital, and they'll walk you through it. Remember all of my provisos at keycitycapital.com/Hugh. Byron York joins me. He's with the Washington Examiner. He's also a Fox News contributor, and we share those things in common. I wonder, Byron, if you share in common with me a distaste for the Epstein story. Do you?
Yeah, I haven't written a whole lot about it. I have been, trying to keep up with things and look at things, and I believe that the administration should just, while removing all victim information, just release all this stuff and be done with it. But it's not something I talk about a lot.
Well, this is what I talked with Brett Baer about earlier. I wrote a column about it on Tuesday for Fox News. I've never written about it, never said anything about it before, because it's so awful and ugly, and the victims are so numerous. But I never believed there was a list, and I always thought he killed himself. And in fact, they confirmed there's no list, and he killed himself. So I thought we were done. Where is this coming from? Nobody ever comes up to me and says, "Let's talk about Jeffrey Epstein." Nobody.
This is really interesting. One of the things that I've noticed in all of this is that people have forgotten how much they already know about the Epstein case. For example, on his death, there was a Department of Justice Inspector General report on his death. It does not actually reproduce the specific autopsy results, but it discusses them, and it makes a persuasive case that he killed himself. And if you listen to the sort of general Twitter conversation about this, you wouldn't know that. I saw something today. Somebody posted a story about Epstein requesting multiple passports when he was traveling to Africa a lot in the 1990s. Well, that was a story from more than a year ago. I read a story that Vanity Fair wrote about him, I believe, in 2003. That was really interesting and contained much of what we know. And I think a lot of the political world seems to have forgotten how much they actually know about Epstein. I'm not suggesting that releasing the files will be a complete nothing burger, but it might be, because we already know quite a bit.
Yeah, you and I will understand the phrase Al Capone safe. That's what we're up for. It's going to be Al Capone safe. Let me turn to a second issue. I completed the trifecta this week. I talked to Josh Dawsey about his new book, 2024. I talked last week with Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson about their book, Original Sin, and I've already had John Allen and Amy Parnes on about their book, Fight. Bottom line, the Democratic campaigns were staffed by morons. And I really mean, they were badly, badly run. Does anyone else come out and say how badly run they were?
Well, I mean, all of those books essentially show it, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. What can I say? That a campaign like that is a reflection of the candidate. Because you have to remember, whenever you're talking about a bad campaign, you're really saying the candidate was bad. Because a really good candidate is not going to have a really terrible campaign at that level. And so what they were dealing with was a president, first of all, a candidate who had serious cognitive issues that came out with a bang on June 27th of last year at the debate, and then with a candidate who was in no way prepared to either be the president or even run for president. and you had kind of the dysfunctional organization that the president with the cognitive difficulties had created, switching over to the new unprepared candidate, and it was a disaster all around for them.
Oh, it was so bad. This book makes me feel bad for him. But it did also, I raised with Josh this question. At one point in the book, they reveal President and Mrs. Biden in 2017, after he's left the vice presidency, buy a beachfront house for $2.7 million. And I asked, where did he get that? And Josh said, well, we don't know. We didn't ask. And isn't that extraordinary? It couldn't. $2.7 million is $5.4 million in after-tax dollars. It's ridiculous that nobody asks.
Well, didn't Biden got a big book contract? You know, this is a way of paying off politicians. Got a huge book contract when he left the vice presidency. And I think he sort of focused the book around his son Beau's death, but it was basically a memoir, and it was a multi-million-dollar thing. And he also did a bunch of get-rich-quick stuff, the standard sort of six-figure speeches that they do. Now, I'm not saying that takes care of all of it, but I think Biden did have obvious, seven-figure sources of income after he left the White House.
If you're paying your taxes and you've got $2.7 million cash outlay for a house, I don't know where it came from, and I don't know that it's wrong. I just thought it's interesting it wasn't answered. Then I want to go to one more bit of Josh's book. Eric Holder did the vetting of the vice presidential candidates. Can we agree that he completely botched the vetting of Tim Walz?
Which part would you say was the worst?
The Army record. Omission. Okay, I think that's pretty bad. The fact that he wasn't a football coach, he was an assistant defensive coordinator. I mean, he couldn't load a shotgun. I can't load one either. I'm not criticizing that, but pretending to be a hunter when you're not a hunter is kind of bad. And he was terrible on the stump. How could they not know these things?
Look, the vetting guy, the legal vetting guy is not going to say, boy, he's a really terrible speaker. I did find the assistant coach thing to be actually surprising. Well, I learned it because you heard so much about him being the coach and coaching the team to the state championship and everything. And then when you find out he was one of several assistant coaches, you go, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Here again, I'm not sure that's something the legal vetting team is going to go into, but it was bad.
Jazz hands. And then the statement that her team made to Vice President Harris, none of the 6 candidates will appreciably impact you. I don't believe that about Josh Shapiro. I believe they told Josh Dotsie that, but I don't believe they told her that. I think they told her, he'll win Pennsylvania for you, but you'll lose Michigan. What do you think?
Well, I mean, there were reports, and I'm still not fully clear because we don't know, we're not in Josh Shapiro's mind. But, I mean, there are a number of reports that suggested he actually did not want this. Clearly, she did not feel comfortable with him, probably because she felt she was looking at a vice president who was more able than she, which made her
all these
feel
books prove, Brian, the old saw is A's hire A's, B's hire C's, and C's hire whomever they can get to go to work for them. That explains right. Joe Biden is a B hiring a C and Kamala Harris is a C. Anybody here want to work for me? And boy, what a mess. Byron York, follow him on X at Byron York. Watch him on the Fox News channel and read him at the Washington Examiner. Former Congressman, former National Security Advisor, Green Beret, and warrior extraordinaire Mike Waltz had his confirmation hearing today. He's being elevated by President Trump to be the United Nations ambassador. It went very well. Cut number 16, Mike Waltz before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee.
I understand the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, but I will say over and over again, if Hamas would lay down their arms, if they would surrender, if they would stop sacrificing their own people, the fighting would stop today. And I am confident in working with Israel in that regard.
Cut number 17.
We must also challenge pervasive anti-Semitism. From 2015 to 2023, the Assembly passed 154 resolutions against Israel versus 71 against all other nations combined. UNRWA in Gaza, with its staff involved in the October 7th massacre, its schools teaching anti-Semitic hate, must be dismantled. The reappointment of Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese, with her calls to boycott American companies doing business with Israel, highlights this bias. President Trump's executive order, Chairman Risch, your Stand With Israel Act require withholdings from such bodies.
I think he's going to be a fabulous UN ambassador, like Jean Kirkpatrick and Daniel Patrick Moynihan. He's going to be terrific. I hope the vote is quick. Well done, Congressman Waltz. Got to remind you about Relief Factor. I do it every hour. We were in the Relief Factor studio. Got only 3 miles in today. Humidity has arrived, and it's making it a little bit harder, but really I had coming up. I've got a book interview with Danny Silva. His brand new book on Inside Job is out this week, so I had to get that finished. I had to get finished some stuff with other authors, including Senator Lankford, who's on tomorrow. So I only got 3 miles in today, but they were easy because I take my Relief Factor every single day. I do it in the first hour of the program. Been doing it for well over a decade. The only supplement I've taken for more than 20 years, the only one I intend to take. I don't need the other stuff. Lots of people want to pay me money to take other supplements, but I feel great, and the minor aches and pains are not there because of ReliefFactor.com. You ought to try it if you've got any kind of nagging pain that just bothers you. And some of you are in your cars right now for an early commute. You're jumping in your car right at 5 o'clock on the East Coast, and you're going to go, and your back's going to hurt, and your knees are going to hurt, and you just are going to be uncomfortable. You really need to try Relief Factor. 1-800, the number 4, and the word relief. 1-800-4-RELIEF. Or visit their website and get their starter pack, $19.95, less than $1 a day, at ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com. And may I please ask you again to visit HughHewitt.com and find at the top our Food for the Poor campaign. Food for the Poor is sponsoring a campaign we are throwing in with them because Help Texas deserves it. The devastation down in Texas is enormous. Food for the Poor is already on the ground there. They're working out of an alliance in San Antonio. They are rolling out the relief that is necessary, and the devastation, not just the death, which are terrible and grief-inducing and shock-inducing, but the devastation across a large swath of the Hill Country is enormous. Please be as generous as you can at the Help Texas banner over at HughHewitt.com. You probably have no idea what that song is. Neither did Adam, neither did Dwayne, neither did I. It's Eros Ramazzotti. I don't even know how to pronounce it because it's in this book, An Inside Job by Daniel Silva. #1 New York Times bestseller. I'm pretty sure by Thursday it'll appear on the New York Times list as #1. He joins me for the 18th year in a row in July. Did you know we've been doing that for that long, Daniel Silva? 18 years?
I know, and it's Parla con me. Talk to me.
Well, I have no idea, but it's one of my favorite scenes in the book. But I got to begin by saying about An Inside Job. It's fabulous, but you've boxed me in. And you've boxed me in because I finished it. I almost never finish your books because I don't want to do spoilers. And I finished it in 28 hours. Secondly, I don't want to give anything away. And this is very difficult not to give anything away in. So I figured out the interview how to do that. Just generally tell me, how's the reaction among Silva addicts?
Wonderful. I'm also really pleased with the review that appeared on Apple Books last evening that called it a cross between the Da Vinci Code and the Thomas Crown Affair. I think that sounds pretty delicious. I'd like to read a book like that. And so I know what you're talking about, so I'm going to be very careful about it. But it does have a very shocking little twist ending to it. So we got to be careful.
It does, and the expectations that people bring to Daniel Silva novels are extraordinary, and he meets them on the artistic level, but there's some curveball thrown at you in this book, unlike the rest of the Silva. How many Gabriel Allon books are we at now? 25?
It's 25. This is the silver anniversary.
Well, congratulations!
The silver anniversary.
I want to start by asking, the last 2 years, you are a great friend to Israel, as I am, and the last 2 years have been very hard for people who are great friends to Israel. How did that impact your writing?
Well, I mean, this book it has nothing to do with what's going on. When I guess on the day of October 7th, when the attack happened, there was no way I could tackle the material. And so thus far, I have pretended as though it hasn't happened in Gabriel's universe yet. My bibliography, you'll see that it was 5 years before I even felt like writing anything.
We're having a problem, Danny.
Having lived through 9/11, I didn't think it was very entertaining, to be honest with you. And that's where I'm sort of at on what's going on right now.
So I think a 5-year plan is a good plan. I am curious, this is not related to an inside job. Are you surprised that Iran proved to be, because you've written a lot about Iran in the course of Gabriel Alon's life as head of Mossad. Are you surprised that Iran crumpled that way?
Well, remember that Iran's forward defense, was Hamas and Hezbollah. That was a deterrent. So they encircled Israel with proxies, and the thinking was that if they get into if Israel went at the nuclear program, then Hezbollah would rain holy hell on Israel. Well, Israel took out Hezbollah first. Hamas, of course, was badly decapitated and really weakened by the Israeli response to 7/7, and so that layer of protection that Iran has enjoyed for all these years is gone all of a sudden. And the other thing that it's true is that Israel just owns that country. It owns the communication system. It can take it down anytime it wants. It is all over Iran. And they were able to go after the air defenses and made short work of it, actually.
Yeah, the stuff that happened, the pager attack, the walkie-talkies, the taking out of the Russian S-300s, all the variety of things that happened, the calling together of all the general staff so that they could all be taken out at the same time, makes you believe that maybe you are very complimentary of Mossad over 25 years of writing Silva novels about Gabriel Alon. Do you think you underestimated what Mossad can do? Because I don't know if you would have dared write that.
No, not at all. I will tell you that an Israeli fan of mine who was in the secret services, we'll put it that way. He said, you write really good stories, but the stuff that we're doing on a nightly basis is even more dangerous than what your team is doing. And I believe that. I cannot. I've never been able to pin down exactly how they have been able, and I'm going to use this word again. They own Iran. They own the place. They can do whatever they want, whenever they want inside Iran. It is a penetration of a country that I don't know that we've ever really seen anything quite like it. I think they own the entire communication system. The power. I think that they can turn out the lights anytime they feel like it. It's just an extraordinary accomplishment.
We are both fans of Ukraine and of Zelensky. There's a tiny bit of an inside job. There's a Ukrainian angle, and it's just a tiny bit, but I wanted to pause on that. I believe that they are also demonstrating a kind of facility with improvisation that no one would have expected from Ukraine that Israel dominates. Have you seen the same thing?
Well, I mean, I think that they're helping to redefine what the warfare of the future will look like. And our own vulnerabilities to drones, these cheap, little, inexpensive things that can carry explosive charges, just be lethal weapons, I think that every defense intelligence officer in the world is watching that war incredibly carefully, because they're, as you said, they're improvising, they're learning day by day, they're practicing, they're using new techniques, and the world is watching. Look, pilotless aircraft, drones, they're only going to get more sophisticated and more dangerous and more of a threat to us.
And submersibles. I have said, and this was my last
Submersibles,
one.
absolutely. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And when we look forward 15 years or 20 years, the countries of Iran and Russia are allegedly closed countries into which you ought not to be able to drive trucks and assemble drone factories in which with to attack strategic assets. Ours is an open country. Do you ever think in your novelist's mind the number of things that might be waiting for us in terms of bad surprises in the United States?
Sure. I mean, I did it in one novel, a book called The Black Widow. It's the only time that I carried out an attack against this country with a heavy heart, but look, we're incredibly vulnerable. That's what the price of living in a free society, or a free-ish society. We did really tighten things up after 9/11. But sure, I mean, the technology is going to grow leaps and bounds. I mean, it's not unimaginable that AI could be used to devise an effective means of penetrating our defenses.
Absolutely. Now, pause right there. Pause. I talked to Danny Silva right before the show today, and as you notice, we had a little data problem. He's in a hotel room in New York, so we lost about 6 seconds here and 6 seconds there. We got it fixed for the rest of the interview, so don't go anywhere. All of it will be posted at YouTube, and I'll come right back to Daniel Silva, a brand new book, An Inside Job. I posted the link on my X account. I remind you, I'm in the Relief Factor studio. Relief Factor is what I take every day. Gabriel Lon needs it too, because he's getting older as well. I won't suggest it to Daniel. I don't think he ages. But Relief Factor is for everyone who's got minor aches and pains. You don't have to live with pain. You can call 1-800, the number 4, and the word relief, and get rid of those minor aches and pains that annoy and nag at you every single day in every kind of way. Maybe you lift the wrong thing the wrong way. Try Relief Factor for 3 weeks. The starter pack is $19.95. It's less than $1 a day. And you do not want to live with pain. You want to get rid of it. You don't want to mask pain with over-the-counters. You want to get rid of it with the anti-inflammatories in Relief Factor. Go to their website, relieffactor.com. Find the starter pack for $19.95. Relieffactor.com. Right before the program, I sat down with Daniel Silva, author of this book, An Inside Job. Came out yesterday actually. It'll be a bestseller, probably #1 on the New York Times list. This is the 18th summer in a row that Daniel has been available for me to talk to. Love his books. Here's part 2. Let me now ask you a few specific questions. Tell me about David Bohl, who gets quite the acknowledgement at the end of the book for helping you kind of work through this. It's a very elaborate plot. It's fascinating. I can't tell people. You've got to read it sort of in 2 sittings, if not 1. Just to keep track of what's going on, because it reminds me of an Ocean's 13 kind of novel, but movie. What was David Bohl's role in your life before he passed?
Well, he was my primary art advisor. He was Gabriel Lon is a fictitious, world-renowned art restorer. David Bohl is the real thing. He was really one of the 2 or 3 most sought after, most highly regarded restorers in the world. And it was my pleasure to consider him a friend and to be able to talk to him anytime I needed him. He read my manuscripts when necessary to make sure that no mistakes slipped through. It's strange to say this, but Gabriel Lon is a rather important figure in the art world, and we didn't want any mistakes.
Surprised.
We were very careful about that, and when I for this novel, when I came up with the original idea for it, I had just a few basic questions for him about plausibility. And once I got those questions answered, I started working. and talked to him a couple more times. And I did not realize that he had taken ill or that he was close to death in any way, and it came as quite a shock to me, actually.
It's a very lovely and a wonderful acknowledgement at the end. Now, the one thing I decided I could talk about without being a spoiler because it shows up so soon is Leonardo da Vinci. Now, I've never read Walter Isaacson's biography. I think you're going to launch a Da Vinci. I think an inside job is going to launch a Da Vinci renaissance among Americans who don't know much about him. Why did you pick Da Vinci? You always pick an artist to be the centerpiece of one of your books about art. Why Da Vinci?
Well, obviously, the price that Salvator Mundi fetched at auction, almost.
Can you explain what that is to people? Would you explain, Dan, what Salvator Mundi is?
Salvator Mundi is the painting that went gosh, I can't even remember the year now. That we believe it's in the hands of MBS now. It was a picture of Jesus as a youngish man holding. I can't kind of get his hands. His blessing hand is his right hand. In his left hand is a crystal orb representing the world. So it's savior of the world. That's what Salvator Mundi translates as. And it was purchased. It was spotted in on an online catalog by a couple of dealers. It was purchased for about $1,000 from a little gallery in New Orleans. X years later, after restoration and study and display and a couple of sales, it was sold for almost $500 million at Christie's. Obviously, the highest price ever paid at auction for a painting. And it got me thinking about, are there more Leonardo oil paintings out there to be discovered? And what kind of material might they be? What kind of imagery might they be? And in this novel, I create my dream Leonardo. It's the Leonardo that I always wished that he had painted.
Well, I got to tell people without telling them about it. You'll learn more about painting and Leonardo da Vinci from an inside job than you know. And when you're done, you're going to want to know more. I've only seen two. I've been to France. I've been to Paris. So I've gone and seen Mona Lisa. But I also have seen a number of times. Do we pronounce it Ginevra, the one that the National Gallery has? Is that right, Ginevra?
Only Leonardo in North America.
And so I've gone to see it a few times. And last night, after I finished an inside job, I looked up how did it get here? It got here in 1967 when the former royal family of Austria had to liquidate some holding. It only cost $6 or $7 million. Isn't that remarkable?
Correct. This is the skyrocketing value of art that really began in the 1980s. Who's to say what a painting is really worth? I guess what it's worth is what someone is willing to pay for it. I would argue that the result of that auction was really distorted by the fact that two of the richest men in the world, men to whom money means absolutely nothing, went at it hammer and tong to get that painting, and it went up in astronomical levels in a matter of minutes. And finally, MBS just got impatient and dropped the hammer and ended it. But so if it hadn't been fought over by two really, really wealthy Arab princes, it wouldn't have reached that level.
Well, there is an auction in this book. There's an auction. Yeah. I will say that. That's and it's a fabulous bit of writing. It's probably 25 pages long, the auction, and it's just. When did you figure out how to conduct the auction? Has anyone ever done it that way?
I don't. Well, sure. I mean, there are private sales. paintings. Most paintings change hands entirely in secret. So private sales are really sort of the norm, and so you can also have sort of private auctions. Most people try to avoid, getting entangled in auctions when they're buying a very expensive painting. But so what I wanted to do is to try to sort of capture a little bit of, for lack of a better word, the folly of that auction for Salvador Mundi and apply it to my book. So yeah, there is a secret auction that takes place for a painting that doesn't exist. It's something, an auction that only Gabriel Lon could pull off.
Pause it right there. We'll come back with part 3 of the interview with Daniel Silva about his brand new book, An Inside Job. And An Inside Job will be #1 on the New York Times bestseller list when it comes out on Thursday. It always is, because the fandom land is enormous, because they're so very well and intricately plotted. And I kid you not, 28 hours, and put it down. And I had to reread a couple things to make sure I got it right. It is like Ocean's 13, the movie. Lots of stuff is going on, a lot of switchbacks, a lot of stuff happening. You don't want to miss a minute of this interview. Daniel Silva, author of the brand new bestseller, An Inside Job, the latest in the Gabriel Allon series. It's a tradition here on the Hugh Hewitt Show that dates back to 2008. I've always been a Silva fan. I finally caught up with him in 2008. We did a 3-hour interview then, and then every year in July, I have done an interview when his new book comes out. Let's go to part 3.
Pull off.
It's a fabulous bit of intrigue that people are going to have to read. Let me ask you about, first of all, let me reassure the audience who come every year and they want Daniel Silva's book to be another beach page turner. This is it. And you're going to find Martin and Ingrid and Christopher. You're going to find all your old friends, maybe not all of them, but a lot of your old friends are there doing old friendsy things. In fact, even the old lady on Corsica shows up, sort of, right? I mean, people need to know that she's there, sort of.
She's reversed.
Now, I had one moral question for you. We like the Don who runs Corsica. We don't like the Camorra. What's to distinguish the Don in Corsica and the Camorra in Italy?
The Camorra are just really the most ruthless, violent. I mean, with the exception of a couple of Russian gangs and some of the cartels in South America, this is a really violent, awful, vile criminal organization that has taken over Campania, has ruined much of Campania, and the Italian authorities, Italian police have been waging war on it for years. They think nothing of assassinating police officers and prosecutors and anyone who gets in their way. They are just the worst of the worst.
No, I did not even know. I'm the good Catholic, and I did not know about Father Pino Puglisi. I had to go look him up. I didn't know he had been beatified by Benedict and is now Saint Pino. How in the world would you find out about him?
Hugh, I am a Vatican. I'm not a Vaticanologist, but I certainly am a Vatican watcher. I've written. The Allon series is broken into little subsets, and so there are a number of Vatican books within the series. Gabriel has maintained a very close relationship with the Vatican. He restores paintings for them, and he acts as an unofficial sort of security consultant for the Vatican. And he's very close friends with the current Pope, who bears a striking resemblance to the last Pope.
And you held St. Jerome? They let you hold St. Jerome?
Well, should we go back a little bit, or should we tell the whole story?
Tell people about that.
I was in the restoration lab one afternoon, and I walked past this, these white laboratory tables, and I out of the corner of my eye, I see this object lying there, and I just stop and turn, and I looked at one of the restorers. I said, "Is that?" And he said, "Yes, it is. It was St. Jerome. It was lying on this table, just all by its lonesome, sitting there." So why was it there? Well, the team from the Louvre was about to do some work on Mona Lisa. They wanted to come spend some time with Saint Jerome at the Vatican before they started tinkering with Mona Lisa, and so that's why it had been removed from the collection was in the lab, and so it was just sitting there. So I was having this quiet moment with Saint Jerome, and the restorer said, do you want to hold it? And I said, well, yeah. So they got me some gloves, a pair of gloves, and I got to hold it, Leonardo, in my hand. So there's a little reference to that. Antonio Calvesi asked Gabriel Allon in one of the early chapters, have you ever restored a Leonardo? Have you ever held one in your hands? And that is a reference to me because I have actually.
Let's pause it there. The entire interview with Daniel Silva is now posted on my YouTube channel. It goes for another 30 minutes. We had a long chat because we're friends. I am familiar with all the books. I can tell you where the attack in America occurred. I know the restaurant. I know the whole, all of the characters that go back. And I always recommend start with The Kill Artist, and you've got 25 books ahead of you, and you can read for a year. And that's if you pile off a book every 2 weeks, and you probably will go faster. And they are never, ever disappointing. They are always enthralling. You might not love Israel as much as Daniel Silva and I love Israel or support them. You might not share his point of view on Vaticans and popes. We disagree on some things, but it's just a great way to spend some summer, and it should be a bestseller. Go watch the entire interview over at Hugh Hewitt, the YouTube channel. While you're there, like and subscribe. Like and subscribe if you wish to opine. News on that front coming up, too. That music means Lilacs is in the house. James Lilacs, humorist extraordinary. His website is lilacs.com. His Substack is jameslilacs.substack.com. And James, boy, am I glad to see you, you dummy. I really got about one paragraph into the account of what you did, and I said, what? So tell people what you did, you dummy.
Yes. Well, I got carjacked, and opinions seem to either fall on the dummy side or the good for you for doing something and not being a passive victim. I guess we're putting Hugh with the dummies. I really thought you'd be a little bit more on my side of it. So I pulled into my driveway, and I'd been followed into my neighborhood by a couple of Marines. I was out of my car, and then I was out of a car, so to speak. The guy hopped right in. Off he went. Here we get to the dummy part. The dummy part, according to Hugh and a lot of other people, well, the dummy part, according to some people, is A, living in Minneapolis in the first place, B, not having a gun at my side at all times, but C, attempting to fight back. So
yeah, I'm in the sea.
You're in the sea. Okay. As the guy was backing out of my driveway, and you got to give him a little time to adjust to the feel of the vehicle and where everything is. So I understand why he slowed down a bit. I proceeded to run up and throw a punch in, and I missed, but I was hanging on the side of the car and trying to claw him and get his hands off the wheel while uttering a series of expletives that my mother may not have liked but would have understood. And I got dragged about half of the distance down to the end of the block, at which point he accelerated. And I got to say, I am proud of my car. It's got excellent pickup. And off it goes. And I went and did several tumbles on the road, which reduced a great deal of skin and led to what appeared to be a very theatrical blood loss. So, yeah, I got carjacked in my driveway. And when you tell people,
is it possible that anyone got any video on from a Neighbors Go, a pro cam or anything like that?
No, across the street it was hidden by all kinds of ornamental shrubs and like. So that wasn't the case. But even everybody knows that even if the guy had been caught, nothing's going to happen to him. I said to the police. So when you get him, and you will, it's going to be 6 months of breaking rocks in the hot sun, right? Or is it 9? And they would just sort of roll their eyes and smile and say,
"Oh, they'll let him go." I'm sure it's a first offense, and besides, you're a humorist. He thought he was helping you. You don't look banged up. Are you better? Were you banged up and got better?
I've healed. I'm not showing the parts of my limbs that have suffered the dermal abrasions, but yeah. See, here's the problem, is that while it is itself, and I boiled it down for you in an interesting tale, and all the subsequent things that happened, philanthropy, the kind gestures, the guy who found my laptop, blocks and blocks away, the police who brought back my iPhone when they found it, all of these wonderful things that accrued. The problem is that the more you tell this tale, and it's tempting to, deploy it at almost any opportunity, the more you embellish. And so I am calling a moratorium right now. I'm never going to tell this story again, because if I tell it more, I'm going to start to be on the hood with a baseball bat going into the window.
Well, let me change your mind.
Story's done. Okay.
Let me change 2 words to change your mind. Publishers advance. I think you've got a book here. I just had Dave Barry on doing Class Clown, and he managed to make a book out of nothing. It's a very funny book, too. You've got to start.
Right.
I mean, I was carjacked in my own driveway. I think it's a start. Publishers advance.
Well, the interesting thing is that I've already published a piece about it in the local newspaper. And I would say my newspaper, except I retired. I quit on Friday. The last act that I did in my office computer access network was to hit send on a piece to the op-ed page, which was everything essentially they'd been telling me not to like last year. A, opinion, and B, humor. And they ran with it, and it got beautiful numbers. And so I think I may have said all I'm going to say. But like Dave, I too could probably craft a narrative out of the gossamer of my life and add some humor to it. I'd have to lie a lot because I behaved.
Well, no, I'm sure he did too. And in fact, he doesn't embellish so much as he makes you aware of stuff in his life that's funny. You've done a lot of funny things.
Dave is the man who said, I am not making this up. So I trust him at that. He's actually confabulated it in his biography. I'll have to have a chat with him.
I think you could do a fabulous memoir. And the fact is, you now have a book proposal that's been published. It's in the Trib. It's already been published. You just give it to an agent and say, okay, I can make this into Dave Barry's book and sell twice as many. Because his book is doing very well. People want to laugh. I don't understand. You two are like the last dodo birds on the planet Earth. You're the last professional humorist around. Why is that?
It feels that way sometimes. Because nobody reads books anymore. Unfortunately, everybody's scrolling through a TikTok, which is where all the action is. If I was going to the supermarket blowing air horns into people's ears, getting their reactions, I'd have the money rolling in from monetizing.
That's a chapter. That's a chapter right there.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. My next thing that I'm going to do in retirement here is apply to be the guy at the information desk at the airport. So when people come up and say, where is this? I'll say there. And I'm only doing this, well, partially out of philanthropy, but partially just to observe the life of an airport in the course of the day. I frankly can't wait. More exciting Meals on Wheels. And
that's chapter 3. We're doing the chapter outline. Chapter 1 is the carjack. I forgot chapter 2, but chapter 3 is your stint at the airport.
All right, well, then I'll have to tell the story backwards, like Merlin, ending with my birth or something like that. And I'll have to make up some anecdote for that. Yeah, the next time you fly to Minneapolis, go ask a question and see if there's a shortish man who's sitting at the desk in a nice little thing with a name tag, eager to help you.
There is in Pittsburgh. I can say with certainty, right next to the Franco statue, there is a help desk that is always manned. And I find that, where there was a help desk I went recently? I went to Bletchley. Do you know what Bletchley is? You know what.
Well, that would be the spy headquarters, right?
Yeah, the spy headquarters outside of Great Britain. The single nicest museum docent we've ever met was at Bletchley. Nice, proper English gentleman with somewhat off teeth who was eager to tell us everything about Bletchley and was fabulous. But I want to go back to your book. What else are you doing? If you've retired, you should do a book.
Well, I am going to do a book. It depends on what it is. Maybe a collection of the pieces that I've written. 1,000 collected columns there. I've got lilacs.com Monday through Friday. I've got a Substack which people pay for Monday through Friday. I write for Discourse Magazine, which is George Mason University joint. I got my National Review column. I intend to throw some things at Toronto, then at the Wall Street Journal. I'm still writing about 4 pieces a week, so I think I'll
memoir. Go read Dave's book, Memoir. People want to laugh.
Do I have to dedicate it to you?
Lilacs.com or go subscribe to his Substack and laugh every day. JamesLilacs.substack.com. Thank you, James. I'm glad you're all right. Don't chase after a carjack again. I have an absolute banger of an announcement to make. I am a consumer of podcasts when I trundle. I'm a consumer of podcasts when I wind down, when I'm not reading. And I love many of them, but I have only a handful to which I listen to every episode. Getting Hammered, which has a new episode coming out tomorrow. Commentary, Monday through Friday, early, should be earlier. I listen to the National Review of the Editors, I listen to Andrew McCarthy, and of course, I listen to Dwayne's World. But, let's be honest, the one that makes me laugh the most is the Ruthless podcast. And the fellas made an announcement today, Josh Holmes speaking.
Fox News is the gold standard for conservatives. Yep. It has been, and I think it always will be. They see value in generational change. They understand that people are consuming news differently, and they want to be at the cutting edge of all of that. And that leadership from the top down is basically what built a network that is, what are they, like 4-1 everybody else in the cable industry?
Mm-hmm.
And they're just
even beyond
continuing.
cable, they're now the #1 channel on television. They're beating ABC, CBS, NBC, like
crushing them.
All of them.
Totally. When you see the sort of painstaking effort that they undertake every day to make sure what they bring to audiences is the absolute best in class, best interviews, best information, best personalities. I mean, we got to see why it is that they are the best, and it was so attractive for us to be a part of this gold standard that they had built over the years.
They have signed, Fox News has signed the Ruthless podcast to a distribution deal. Now, I don't know how they can put it on the network. Maybe they can, and if they have a dump button or like 8 dump buttons, because it can be colorful. The fellows get excited. The fellows get into things. And sometimes a word or a phrase will slip by that you'll not have heard before.
James Lilacs carjack word will come out.
Yeah, a carjack phrase from Lilac. But congrats to Ruthless. Fox News ahead of the curve again. Pick up podcasts where you can, when you can, before they become too expensive like Da Vinci's. I do want to remind you about those, however, who are not having fun today. They are recovering from the disaster in Texas. Our friends at Food for the Poor are sponsoring a drive here, which we are happy to partner with. The Help Texas banner is at the top of HughHewitt.com, or you can text my name, Hewitt, to 51555. But I think the best thing to do is to go to HughHewitt.com and hit that banner. It's absolutely secure. If you give $50, you send another box of Relief Supplies. What people don't know, it just wasn't, the tragic deaths of the children and the adults and the camp founder, horrific. We grieve. But many thousands of people lost everything in the Hill Country, everything. And Food for the Poor is helping them, and you can help Food for the Poor. It's completely tax deductible. Please go to my website, find the banner at the top, Help Texas, chip in what you can, $50 or $5,000, $5 or $5 million, whatever you can. Food for the Poor is 5-star and can be trusted to make sure the money gets to the victims of that natural disaster. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Harley. Thank you, Dwayne. The entire Daniel Silva interview is now posted at my YouTube channel. When you go over there, please like and subscribe.